Imagine buying an SUV and never having to worry about the repair shop again. Not because it's cheap to fix, but because there's almost nothing that ever breaks. While most owners brace themselves for the next unexpected bill, these vehicles just keep running. 300,000 miles or more feels normal. Engines refuse to fail, electronics stay reliable, and resale values barely budge. These aren't accidents, they were designed to last, by engineers who seemed determined to make tow trucks irrelevant. Here's what most people don't realize. Choosing one of these SUVs doesn't just save you on repairs. It changes your insurance, it reshapes depreciation, and it can even shorten the time you spend making car payments. Some of these models make extended warranties almost unnecessary. Others quietly reward you every time you fill the tank, thanks to efficiency that lasts year after year. Today, we're counting down 5 SUVs that are legendary for reliability. Each one has earned a reputation for going the distance, and the number 1 pick is so resilient it almost defies belief. By the end, you'll see why these vehicles aren't just cars, they're long-term investments in peace of mind. Number 5. The Hyundai Santa Fe. This one surprises a lot of people. 20 years ago, if you said a Hyundai would make a list of SUVs that almost never break down, most would have laughed, and understandably so. But the modern Santa Fe is a completely different story. Hyundai made a deliberate choice. Build vehicles that owners can buy once and keep for years, instead of cycling through repairs and trade-ins every few seasons. On paper, this looks simple, but it's reflected in every design decision. Under the hood, the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine is engineered for durability. Components are built with conservative tolerances, heavy-duty materials, and multi-layer steel head gaskets instead of weaker composites. Industrial-grade timing chains replace parts that typically need early replacement, and the oiling system is overbuilt to minimize wear as mileage climbs. The result is a powertrain that isn't stressed in daily driving, which is exactly why it keeps running well past 200,000 miles with nothing more than routine maintenance. Hyundai doesn't just ask you to take their word for it, they back it with one of the industry's longest warranties, 10 years or 100,000 miles. But this isn't a gimmick. These engines and transmissions are designed to survive far beyond that point. Consumer Reports reliability scores reflect that confidence, and real-world owners report long-term satisfaction that's rare for any modern SUV. For insurance, maintenance, and resale, the Santa Fe quietly flips the typical ownership math. Fewer repairs, predictable upkeep, and extended longevity mean lower total costs over time. This SUV earns its 5th spot because it represents a modern vehicle built with old-school durability. Keep it simple, overbuild the essentials, and eliminate the reasons most cars fail. Number 4. The Subaru Forester. This one feels almost unstoppable. Imagine an SUV that shows up at 3 a.m. during a blizzard and drives you home like it's nothing. That's why the Forester earns its 4th spot. It doesn't just survive tough conditions, it thrives in them, year after year without complaint. On paper, the Forester looks like a normal, compact SUV, but Subaru's reputation is a key reason buyers trust it. Generations of owners have relied on it in rain, snow, mud, and gravel. Early engine issues, like head gasket failures, are part of its history, but Subaru addressed those over a decade ago, redesigning the engines from the ground up. What remains is a low-stress, durable powertrain that keeps running with minimal intervention. Here's where the magic really happens. Subaru's full-time symmetrical all-wheel drive. Unlike reactive AWD systems that wait for a loss of traction, this system is always active, splitting power evenly front to rear. That constant balance reduces shock to the drivetrain, prevents sudden component stress, and dramatically extends the life of axles, differentials, and drive shafts. It's not built to impress in marketing materials, it's built to endure real-world abuse, mile after mile. That durability isn't just convenient, it affects the entire ownership equation. Insurance costs are predictable, maintenance stays minimal, and resale values remain remarkably high. Even 5-year-old Foresters retain value that makes other SUVs look disposable. Consumer Reports reliability scores back this up, showing minimal owner-reported issues compared to rivals in the same segment. The Forester doesn't chase speed or flashy tech. It quietly accumulates mileage without drama. And if you think this level of reliability is impressive, wait until you see what happens when we move up to an SUV that redefines long-term satisfaction entirely. Number 3. The Honda CR-V. This one surprises people because at first glance, it doesn't feel special. There's no flash, no drama, no showy performance numbers. And that's exactly why it earns a spot on this list. It's quietly built to last decades, not weeks. For a CR-V, 100,000 miles isn't a milestone, it's barely the break-in. Real-world examples routinely hit 250,000, even 300,000 miles, with engines, transmissions, and catalytic converters still original. Buyers trust the CR-V because Honda has spent decades perfecting reliability. The K-Series 4-cylinder engines, whether the older 2.4-liter naturally aspirated version or the newer turbocharged variant, are conservative by design. Compression ratios are kept in check, cooling systems are overbuilt, and oil passages ensure critical components stay lubricated even at extremely high mileage. Open a 200,000-mile CR-V engine and you might still see factory crosshatch marks on the cylinders, a testament to minimal internal wear. Insurance and ownership costs benefit from that durability. These engines rarely fail, reducing both repair bills and claim frequency. The transmissions, whether older 5-speed automatics or modern CVTs, follow the same philosophy: oversized fluid passages, redundant cooling, and conservative tuning. Less heat, less stress, and fewer breakdowns mean the drivetrain often outlives the rest of the SUV. For insurers, that's a predictable risk profile, and for owners, it translates to fewer surprises and lower long-term costs. What really sets the CR-V apart is how unassuming it is. It doesn't demand attention, it doesn't throw unexpected repairs at you, and it doesn't bleed value over time. It behaves more like a household appliance than a machine, quietly ticking along while other SUVs around it accumulate headaches. And if you thought the CR-V's longevity was impressive, wait until you see the SUV that takes comfort, luxury, and reliability to an entirely different level. Number 2. The Toyota Land Cruiser. This one feels almost legendary because it doesn't just aim to be reliable, it assumes breaking down is never an option. And in many parts of the world, it literally isn't. The Land Cruiser has spent decades in deserts, jungles, and remote highways where a failure can leave you stranded hundreds of miles from help. Every engineering decision reflects that reality. Buyers trust the Land Cruiser because it has earned a reputation for extreme dependability. The engines, whether the legendary inline-6 or Toyota's V8s, are naturally aspirated, heavily detuned, and deliberately understated. They aren't chasing horsepower numbers or flashy efficiency stats. Instead, they're designed to run hard, day after day under heat, dust, and load without ever suffering internal damage. Seeing a Land Cruiser reach 300,000 miles is normal. 400,000 or more is not unheard of. From an ownership perspective, that durability transforms everything. Insurance providers see fewer claims, fewer catastrophic failures, and a predictable repair pattern. The transmissions are traditional torque converter automatics built with oversized components and conservative tuning. No CVTs, no dual clutch experiments, no fragile multi-gear setups. With simple fluid maintenance, these gearboxes routinely outlast the rest of the SUV and often the owner's expectations. Data backs it up. Across decades, consumer reports and global reliability studies highlight the Land Cruiser as a rare case where resale value climbs with age. Owners actively seek out high-mileage examples because a 250,000-mile cruiser is barely broken in. It's rare to see a vehicle that appreciates longevity over novelty, and the Land Cruiser does it better than almost anything else. If you thought the Honda CR-V set a high bar for durability, the Land Cruiser takes it to a new level. This is what extreme longevity looks like, a machine engineered to outlast generations of owners, redefining what it even means to buy an SUV once and keep it forever. Number 1. The Toyota RAV4. This isn't just reliable, it's aggressively reliable, in a way that almost feels intentional. You buy one and it keeps running, not only when it's cared for, but even when it's actively neglected. That's exactly why it belongs at the top of any conversation about SUVs that simply refuse to break down. There are countless real-world examples of RAV4s starting every single morning despite oil that looks more like chocolate pudding than lubricant, air filters packed with years of debris, and maintenance schedules that were long forgotten. These vehicles don't just tolerate neglect, they ignore it. And if your goal is to own one SUV for as long as possible, that's invaluable. A big part of that longevity comes from what sits under the hood. The RAV4's 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine is deliberately simple, with fewer moving parts, conservative tuning, and no unnecessary complexity. Fewer moving parts mean fewer opportunities for failure, and Toyota engineered this engine to operate well below its stress limits during normal driving. The result is an engine that wears slowly, stays internally clean, and continues running smoothly long after most others would have developed serious problems. Toyota's real advantage, though, is in what most people don't think about: suspension bushings, wheel bearings, alternators, and brake components. These aren't glamorous, but Toyota over-engineers them, rating each far beyond the demands of everyday driving. High-mileage RAV4s feel intact rather than worn out, and that attention to detail shows up in resale value. 5-year-old RAV4s routinely retain 60 to 70% of their original value, with certain trims barely depreciating at all. Buyers actively seek used examples because they already know the outcome. These SUVs just keep going. The RAV4 earns the top spot because it does exactly what the phrase "buy once and drive forever" promises. You maintain it reasonably, and it just keeps going for hundreds of thousands of miles without demanding attention. It doesn't age dramatically, fall apart quietly, or surprise you with major failures once the warranty expires. Every SUV on this list earned its place the same way, not through marketing, hype, or short-term reviews, but by stacking up miles without stacking up repair bills. Conservative engines, proven transmissions, and components built to wear slowly instead of fail suddenly. That's the formula. No warning lights, no forced repairs, no expensive surprises. Owners drive them past 100,000 miles, then 200,000, and often far beyond, because the vehicles simply keep working. The real lesson is clear. SUVs that never break down aren't accidents. They're the result of smart engineering. Fewer fragile systems, less complexity, and more focus on durability over novelty. When manufacturers get that right, you don't just save money, you gain time, confidence, and freedom from constant repairs. If this helped you understand which SUVs are built to go the distance, hit the like button and subscribe for more straight-talk breakdowns focused on long-term ownership. And let me know in the comments which SUV you'd trust to run until the wheels fall off. Because the best SUV isn't the newest one, it's the one still running when most others are already gone.